Plays. Yeah. Hard sports all plays. Hard sports all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Hard sports all plays.
Get ready. This summer, the Arena League Sports is on ASAP Network. Tune in live on either the Tiki Live or Roku app, as well as your smart home TV.
Welcome to Real Talk here on the ASAP Network. We are blessed to have you here this evening after an exciting weekend of sports in the NBA. We had some bombshell news. We had some punches thrown. Like, it just got all kinds of crazy very, very quickly. So we're going to touch base on a couple of those things here today. Thank you so much for joining us. And I am blessed to have my man Coach with us. Kenny, how we doing today?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
Oh, it's Monday, so you know how Mondays can be back in the office, but ultimately it's a good day. It's a blessed day. So we can go ahead and get into it. All-Star weekend came and went. There were some really high highs, some really low lows, but ultimately, what was just kind of some of your takeaways?
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it, man. It was some good and some not so good, and then some downright bad. It was fun. I enjoyed pretty much everything. I would say I pretty much enjoyed everything except the dunk contest. And everything else was pretty much was pretty exciting. I thought they did some nice. I thought they added some nice pieces of colors and made some nice adjustments to some of the events, and we'll talk about a little later about the dunk contest. But I just like the little twists and turns that they added to the the other events, and then of course All-Star game. Being a basketball guy, that's the most fun game to watch. I think out of all of the All-Star games, I think the NBA game is the most fun and the most exciting. And again with the format, I think the format makes it a little more exciting because there's something on the line, so guys compete a little harder, towards the end. And so I just thought it was a lot of fun. And Steph Curry just put on the show. Normally the All-Star game is about alley-oops and dunks, and Steph just took the roof off the place with his shooting, and it was just a lot of fun. So that was my takeaway from the weekend. You're muted.
Well, no, I definitely agree with you. There was a great weekend, and I think it was one of the better weekends that I've seen in a little while. The game was competitive. I will say they definitely picked it up. I liked a lot of the changes. The skills challenge, I really liked how they evolved that into a bigger event for one. But ultimately, the differences on the different teams and putting people together, I thought that was cool. I think each team went around. They even brought up Antetokounmpo from the G League, and he got a chance to perform. The shooters came out for the 3-point contest, the skills challenge, and ultimately it culminated with the All-Star game. I will say I felt this way for a couple of years now. But I felt like the 3-point competition has been better than the dunk contest for years. Obviously, it's common knowledge now. Everybody's bashing this year's dunk contest. But even last year, I think it was when Steph went on a run at the end to win it. It's been really competitive this year with Karl Anthony Towns with the Mountain Dew ball. And me and Conman, shout out to Conman, was talking on Friday about, we actually joked that Karl Anthony Towns is even in it. And it's like, what is he doing in there? He doesn't even shoot a ton of threes on that team. You think of Russell and Edwards, and he walked out of there with it really going away. Like he came out in that final round like a man possessed. So Jordan Woods must have had him ready to go. And he performed really well. So I was excited by it. And I'll get to the actual All-Star game here in just a minute. John asked how you think LeBron felt after the game, watching Curry shoot all those threes to go back to Westbrook.
That's cool.
I've seen that tweet a bit. I imagine he looks away, and we'll get into the Lakers and where they're at right now, but I'm sure that didn't help the situation that they got going on in LA. Excuse me. But we do have my man Jay that's joined us. Still,
hey, what's up, fellas?
The beard hasn't quite come back yet, Jay. So we had the baby-faced assassin last night. We got middle-faced age Jay here today. Jay, what's going on, brother?
I'm good, man. Just finished up on Bring It not that long ago. And, I'm trying to get lunch in between. And it's good, man. Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It was definitely a good show. What were your thoughts on the All-Star weekend as a whole?
Well, I'll tell you, I like the skills challenge. I didn't really like the dunk contest. I felt like there was more dunks missed than made. And what really, I guess it was a lack of, just original.
What's up, Trotter? That's my guy.
I feel like Toscano Anderson, if you watch the last round, Toscano Anderson basically, missed a bunch of shots, couldn't even get a last dunk completed. And all really that Obi Toppin had to do was put basket and dunk, and you're good. You don't got to do anything creative. Just put the damn and you're good, and you win. And now, obviously, he went a little bit more, but that's what he did behind the back, and he hit it off the glass and put it in. It was good. But I feel like when I look at past dunk contests, I look at this dunk contest. Number one, they just couldn't even make hardly in their shots. And number two, the originality just wasn't there. And I guess maybe I just kind of missed the Vince Young days when he put the whole elbow into the rim. And I guess I kind of miss, I just miss a lot of that old action, man. And I just feel like it's almost kind of gotten a little bit watered down, And Jalen Green, by the way, did not help out the Rockets' case when he missed like 7 shots and he's trying to do that whole thing.
I was so disappointed in him, man.
I was
really excited to see what he could bring because that young fella, he's got some rockets in his cast because that guy can really get up. So I really thought that he was going to bring something, and so he was really disappointed. I think the most disappointed I was.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think at one point, I even think they were booing him at one point. It was pretty rough.
Yeah, I saw videos that while Cole Anthony was about to do his dunk, Kareem walked out.
Yeah, he was dipped.
He was over it. Shaq, there's been a bunch of
Shaq, that Shaq face was classic.
And years this year. But with that being said, I think we can kind of tap into it. And you heard from really all of us so far. Obviously, the dunk contest was a big letdown. That was supposed to be the crescendo event. That's what everything builds to. It was a great night up until the dunk contest. For what it's worth, me and Con Man was talking about this on Friday and was like, they need stars. Like, it's one thing for shooters. Like, you can have some no-name shooters. When you have no-name dunkers, then definitely got to have people bringing it. And they did not bring it. So with that in mind, Jay, kind of what do you think are maybe a tweak or two that they could make to make the dunk contest kind of reinvigorate itself?
By the way, I thought John Morant should have been one of them. As high-flying as John Morant is, that dude should have absolutely been in the dunk contest. I was a little disappointed in that. But in terms of tweaks, what can I think they can do? Well, obviously, I think they need to audition for it, to be honest with you. I think if you bring in who you're going to bring in. Hey, look, your first qualifying round to even be in the dunk contest is show me your 3 best dunks. And then if you can make the dunk without missing it, okay, great. And then you're in the contest. We're not judging you. I just want to see you complete 3 dunks, that I know you can do, and then we'll put you in the contest and you're good to go. Because I think the problem with the dunk contest is the product that they're putting out, especially you saw it this year, really exposed it. And like you said, not enough stars. You get the B guys that stay on the pine and don't do nothing. Now these are guys that are trying to come in and do the dunk contest. But these guys don't have the talent to do the dunk contest like it should be done. So I think there needs to be almost like a competency that you can make your dunks, and then we'll put you in the competition. You go out there, and then we'll score you so that I know that the product you're putting before the fans is a competent product.
No, I think that's actually a great point. Something I hadn't thought about. But I will say, to your point of having kind of in line with that is, I felt like Toscano Anderson and even the thing was Cole Anthony were trying dunks that I don't think they ever made in practice. Like,
yeah, I agree.
The dunk that it was Jalen Green, the one he tried from the baseline that he was trying to complete. I find it hard to believe that he ever made that dunk. Toscano Anderson, I think, tried to do the elbow in the rim, and he didn't even come close. Like,
I think he got a fingertip.
Yeah, like I feel like they got there, and maybe they thought, I can't really do this, but the momentum of the crowd will get me going. But when you don't have big time stars, you also get people that you get on that huge stage and you crumble on that big stage. And I think we saw that as well. That when the lights came on, Cole Anthony and Toscano Anderson aren't even great in-game dunkers. So I don't know how they managed to make it. I agree with you, Jay, with Ja. Obviously, I think he's somebody that we wanted to see. We did get a dunk contest, and this has happened in years past in the All-Star game. Giannis actually had some explosive dunks as well, so he might be somebody that we could potentially see at some point. It would be nice if the stars would still do it. I think star-wise, it's been a while since we had stars. I remember when Dwight and Nate Robinson were going back and forth. Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon.
Nate wasn't really.
He wasn't really.
They weren't really stars. Like that, and I think that's really the point of it is that the stars are a lot of times the stars are made, as a result of the dunk contest because a lot of these guys, that's their coming out party. Whether the Zach LaVines and Aaron Gordons, wasn't nobody really checking for these guys before that dunk contest. They were kind of under the radar guys. And even Nate Robinson, he wasn't really a star. Like, a lot of guys are made. Spud Webb, the list goes on and on. A lot of guys, such as Tabalos, Steve Brown. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's one of those things where it can be either it's one or the other. Either your star is made or it's never going to come at all, and you just get exposed.
Yeah, and I guess it's unfortunate in past years that Aaron Gordon never won because now they've jaded him to doing it, and now we're stuck with Obi Toppin and the rest.
Hey, man, don't do that. Don't do that to my neck. This is the only thing that we can celebrate all season.
If Obi Toppin was in any other dunk contest, he doesn't get out of the first round. But
now you know what though, I'm gonna show him a little love. Like some of those things were really creative. It just didn't have the power. Like it was just like, you know what I mean? Like if he would have, put the power element to it when he completed them dunks, I think he would have got more love.
No one even tried to jump from a free throw line or nothing. Like, and that's even evolved a ton. 360s and through the legs from almost the free throw line. So I definitely think there's some opportunity. Kenny, what would you say is something they can do to kind of fix the competition?
I think, and I'm kind of piggyback on. I heard Stephen A. talk about it a little bit today, but I'm gonna tweak it. I think that they should reach into those guys that do this almost for a living, like these contest guys. Like these dunkers that we see on social media, that's all that they do, like, and then mix them in with the NBA guys and put the contest together as a mixture between the NBA guys and then almost like that old show. Remember that old show, Pros versus Joes? Almost that type of format. And I think that might bring some excitement out because some of these guys, man, because I remember a couple of years ago, I think TNT did it where they had a contest with just regular guys. Some of the dunks that these guys were doing were really incredible. And now you see some stuff on social media where it's some crazy dunks that these guys can do. And to Jay's point, this is what they do all the time, so they know that they can make these dunks. So I think if we mix them in with the pro guys, I think that might bring a level of
Yeah.
excitement to the contest and also kind of re-energize it or reinvigorate it. And Anthony Price, man, that shout out to Cole Anthony. He was just that's a New York thing. Like if you're not from the North, seeing a guy dunking Timberland boots, that's gonna do nothing for you. So Cole Anthony needed to judge his audience because the rest of America is not going to care about you dunking in some Timberlands. They're going to think you're crazy.
I mean, I agree, but I still think NBA fans are cultured enough to recognize the significance of it. Basketball fans, New York, all of that. I think I thought that was cool. I thought that was something that I don't think had ever been done before.
No, it's a fact.
So had he been a better dunker, I think it definitely would have played well. So no, I didn't kill him for it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a nice twist. It was a lot of that. There was a couple things that were like, oh, that's kind of cool, but it didn't finish. To your point, Obi didn't throw them down like Vince and Jay Rich used to throw it down. Like that's the exclamation point. To the dunk is the power and ferocity, especially when you're that big. You kind of need that that LeBron has and others that are bigger, big time dunkers. So I definitely think there was an opportunity. Adam Silver and the committee got to get together. Either way, I think they need to make the 3-point competition last. I think they need to go ahead and demote the dunk contest till it earns its way back. Just because right now people have such a sour taste in their mouth. And it might be something where they need to incentivize players to want to take that risk. And I know brands are everything these days, but there's no reason why, the Ja Morants and others shouldn't be taking a shot at it. Now, Curry's kind of messed it up because so many people are great shooters. We don't have as many mainstream superstar dunkers, but they could get at least two and then maybe have two other guys or have like a NBA versus streets kind of dunk off or something like that. So I think there are opportunities there. Yeah. With that being said, I do like the changes, like I said, to the skills challenge. Kenny, what was your thoughts on kind of the way that the new skills challenge was structured?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was fun. Putting it and actually making it putting a team element to it. I thought that was really smart. I'm just wondering how they're going to do this going forward in terms of how they're going to select the teams. So that's going to be interesting going forward. But I think the format of it was a lot of fun. Like it was a really, it was a team thing where these guys had to work together, between the shooting, the passing, and the dribbling. So I really enjoyed that team element of it. And I thought that was a really smart move for that contest. So I really enjoyed it.
No. Jay, what about you?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to catch that one. I got home late. I caught it right at the dunk contest. So I can't really speak on the skills challenge. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see that one, but I'll take Kenny's word for it though.
Okay, cool. No, it was cool. It was the first one was a shooting challenge, and they had like 5 dots around the floor, and there was a 5-point shot, which is like Steph, Trey, Dame land, and then it was a team of 3. And so in each activity, each team member had to compete. So for the Cavs, who were the home team, they had to have Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and Darius Garland all shoot the gambit of shots. And then at the end, you collect the most amount of points, and that team won.
Oh, that's interesting.
And Evan Mobley went crazy, and then Darius Garland just put it to bed. Like it wasn't even a competition by the time he was done. Then they had the dribbling. The passing I think was second.
Passing.
And so it was like these 3 different, it was almost like an NFL quarterback challenge where you got to throw the ball through the circles. But
they move from different spots. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It was like choreographed and it was different distances. So you got more points for each throw. And I thought that was pretty cool. And then the last one was like the gauntlet. And then it was a half court shot to win it all. And I think I forget who hit the shot. It was the second person. Mobley, yeah, he hit it. I think he switched it, matter of fact.
Yeah.
And Cleveland brought it home. So I really liked the charity aspect. I know LeBron school won some stuff. was one of them. So it's two charities competing against each other. I think baseball does that too, maybe in the home run derby. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
you
I'm
hit for
pretty sure they
charity.
do with that. Yeah.
So the bigger takeaway for me is hopefully the NFL is watching because y'all.
Oh, hell yeah.
And they did kind of incorporate a skills challenge, but it wasn't this. So I think that they have a lot of work to do if we're going to keep having a Pro Bowl and all that. But
They might want to, they might want to kind of take a page out of the NBA's book in terms of like putting, maybe put the quarters where you keep score and whoever wins those quarters kind of similar to do that. And then, they have to score a certain amount of points in the fourth quarter in order to win. So maybe that will increase the competition level. Because we noticed like these last couple of years, like that fourth quarter, like these guys are really guarding.
yeah.
So I think if they do something like that, that might make it a little more competitive.
I tell you what though, too, Kenny, on the same aspect, man, is like I feel like with the NFL, they gotta pay these guys more than $40,000 or $80,000. That really to them is nothing. That's like $8. I mean, especially when you're putting your career on the line. Because let's be honest, man, you tweak an ACL or whatever freak injury you get, and if you're really playing football, you're done. You know what I mean? Like you're putting your career on the line almost. And I don't know how the NBA does it. I don't know if the NBA pays. I'm sure they pay them, but I don't know like how good their pay scale is. But I know football is as physical as football is. I would rather see them do away with the Pro Bowl and just go to a straight skills challenge like what Ray's talking about. I think that'd be a lot. Just cut it at the skills challenge and you're good.
Yeah, I think that's the difficulty to a certain extent because hockey is a physical game and they still have a pretty good all-star game. So I think you can have a good all-star game with, in a physical sport, but there's just the NFL has some things to fix. The MI6 Sports Network, we definitely will cover the Juwan Howard. He called it a fight. I don't know if I'd call it a fight per se, but there was definitely an altercation.
Yeah.
It was a really good throw.
Yeah. It was an interesting choice. I saw another video of somebody was slapping some guy, and I don't know if Juwan Howard was inspired by that or not, or where that came from. But we'll get to that in just a minute. But obviously, the big finale was the All-Star game, and I was surprised that some players that came out shooting and going, and others I was a little disappointed. Ja didn't give us a lot. He gave us 2 dunks, but he wasn't really going for points. Luka didn't really seem like he was trying to put up a bunch of points. DeMar DeRozan, who's been on a crazy hot streak, wasn't super aggressive. It was kind of like there's these stars and all-stars, and then there's like the superstars. And then you had the Giannis's, the Embiids, the LeBrons, the Currys that just kind of took the game over. So ultimately, Jay, what was kind of your biggest takeaway from the actual All-Star game?
My takeaway was number one. Hey, congratulations, LeBron! You won, and that's great. I think my biggest takeaway is that I guess it made it for a really good pickup game. I mean, honestly, it made for a really good pickup game. I'll tell you this: it was a hell of a lot more entertaining to watch than watching the NFL, or even I think pretty much just NFL because I know MLB still has a pretty good All-Star game, so I really can't say nothing about the MLB, but. Yeah, I think it was entertaining. I think it was good for the sport. I like the pickup challenge. I like seeing, you pick your own team rather than keeping it East versus West. I think it makes it a little bit more exciting.
Okay, cool. What you got for us, Kenny?
Yeah, I just think it was one of them things where it was either one or the other. Either guys were going, super hard and was really into it, or guys was in vacation mode. Or all-star break mode where they was just like, yo, I'm just going to get up and down, a couple times. Then, I'm going to use this as almost like a semi-rest day. I think that's what it was. Because like you said, it was no in between. Either guys was getting out there, was getting up and down and was really going and was attacking and was trying to make it happen. Or guys was just out there, just chilling and kind of, just going just enough to break a sweat. So it was, And that happens a lot of times, because a lot of guys don't really get a whole lot of minutes. You notice in that fourth quarter, it wasn't no subs in that fourth quarter. Them guys ran it all, they played it all the way through.
To that point, I was surprised because late in that game, Melo Ball was actually on the floor.
Yeah, I was surprised too.
For Team Durant, and I think he airballed a 3 or something, but I was surprised because, to your point, typically that's when they lock down, and he was out there, which I thought said a lot about him, but I did think that part was interesting to your point.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know, I guess, because it was untimed, maybe, that's, the coaches calling weren't as aware of getting subs in. I guess it's a little, it's a lot easier as a coach to do things based off the clock. So I think the fact that it was untimed made it a little, they weren't as cognizant of getting guys in, maybe. But I just love the you got a little bit of everything. You had guys attacking the baskets, you got your lobs, you got your dunks, and then you got, Steph Curry just going crazy and just shooting from everywhere on the floor. So I just think you got a nice mix of everything. And, like Jay said, it's just the ultimate pickup game. And it was just fun seeing them guys go up and down, and you could just tell, the guys was enjoying competing against each other. And then in the fourth quarter, when that target score, when it got to that point, guys was really guarding, guys was really trying to win. And so I just think that made it, that's always my favorite game.
I wonder, and it was really kind of goes for all the different ones, right? The skills challenge, the dunk contest, and the actual game itself. What if they put money line purses up there for grabs? You know what I'm saying? I think people tend to play harder when they're playing for money.
The winning team, I want to say,
for each quarter they won. I think it was like $100,000.
Yeah, for they win the winning,
right,
for their charity. And I'm not sure, but I gotta fact check this. But I think the winning team gets a bigger share. But I
they do.
Double check that.
I think it's double whatever the other team gets.
Okay. But I think that dunk contest and the skills challenge, I think if you want to have people want them really dunk, put about a little nice $5 million purse up there. I bet you see some really good dunk contests.
I definitely think you would bring out some other players when you start talking that kind of money. But I will say, so here's my takeaway on the Steph piece, because I heard everybody going absolutely nuts on the Steph piece. And there's going to be a hard time. He broke 3-pointers in a quarter, the record twice in the same game. So let's not confuse what he is as a shooter. I think we were missing a Damian Lillard on the other side. Trae Young, I think we had a conversation maybe on this show where I was telling people to calm down about saying he's the second coming. I think the All-Star game kind of reiterates he's not Steph yet. Not even
and 3-point contest too.
Yeah. Same thing.
He really lighted it up there.
So I think we saw that, but to me, and you guys can tell me if I'm nitpicking here, but Steph was going absolutely nuts, right?
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah.
Until he got close to that all-time scoring.
He started gunning. He started gunning. Nope.
Everything started coming up short. Everything started coming up short. He even took a 2-pointer. Like, he was trying, and I feel like Team LeBron was trying to let him get it, but they're like, you ain't going to cost us this game either.
Right.
So I know there's been criticism on Steph and the bigger moments, and he hit the 1-game winner versus, I think it was Houston. So congratulations on that. But I was disappointed. Me, my girl, my kids, we was all in here watching it, saying, Steph, come on, Steph, get it. And it was just like brick after brick after brick. And I was just like, it was kind of anticlimactic for me that even though he got 50 and he got the All-Star game MVP, like, LeBron had to hit the shot because he was in as far as I'm concerned, he was choking it away. I get it was an All-Star game, but he was choking under the pressure to get the last points. And I was disappointed. I was enamored by it. I think he ended up with 16, I believe is what he ended with. But that elusive 17th made it really dampened the moment for me. I don't know. Did y'all feel that way, or I'm overreaching?
Yeah, you might be a little bit, but I will agree with you that he was definitely gunning. Like that fourth quarter, he was gunning. So like I could see your point. Um, and he was going for the record. He was clearly going for the record. So but he was so hot. I can't really kill him because he got so hot in that third quarter, man. That was so much fun to watch. I'm not going to really get that, get that, out of sorts about him gunning
And
in the fourth quarter.
I did want to go back and check, and he did play because the other thing I said was I thought he was tired, and he did play 36 minutes. So him and LeBron, and I think we talked about it maybe on this show, maybe it was the Friday show. LeBron also played 36 minutes. So given that he knows that AD's out for a while, there was some question on should he just play a couple minutes? No, LeBron played the most minutes with Curry, and obviously he was out there at the game winner. He did go 2 of 11 from 3. Curry was 16 of 27, which is just absurd. I think he attempted more threes than almost the rest of the team attempted shots combined besides LeBron. But he was super hot, so you can't be upset with that. It's entertainment.
I'm really surprised that they let LeBron play that many minutes because he's been kind of he's been nursing a couple of injuries, and they still need him if LA is going to try to make this playoff push or try to have any kind of chance to make a playoff push. I thought they would have been a little more conservative with him, just given that fact. But I guess you can't ever say that LeBron ain't out there fighting. I guess he stayed out there.
But
I think because it was in Cleveland, and Anthony touched because it was in Cleveland, I think he, it was one of those things where he wanted to give them a little, a nice show. He's already, kind of left them high. He's left them high and dry a couple of times.
He's like, here's your.
He wanted to make sure when he came back for the All-Star game and he put on the show for. And the other thing too was the fact that the charity piece was tied to his school.
I promise.
Yeah. The fact that it was tied to that, I think that was also a further incentive that he wanted to do that for those kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've said, I really like what I love most about LeBron is how well he gives back to education. I mean, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
But I think it's bigger than this, and we can kind of transition as well into the other piece of this. So LeBron, they had, and the other part I do want to say before we move on is I thought the halftime was really long, but I thought it was really cool.
It was.
To bring all those people out, to have them kind of stand in a circle in the middle, and all the pictures that we've seen come from it. Mike, who was at the Daytona 500 and flew in to make it. Russell Westbrook was not there. I didn't like that. I feel like if you were a young enough, healthy enough player, you owed it to the NBA to be there for this event. Like, I get you might have had a vacation, but if MJ, Magic, and all of them can be there, you can be there. So I thought that was really cool. I didn't want to step over that. But I also think LeBron, and there was an interview he did, and I forget who it was with, but he said, and he reiterated, he believes in his mind he is the greatest player of all time after he beat Golden State. And so I think we're seeing a LeBron now that, for lack of a better term, doesn't care. He's going to play as many minutes as he wants in All-Star game. He's going to maximize every moment, whether that's racking up a bunch of points. He's made it very clear, I'm not closing the door and coming back to Cleveland. Apparently there's a rift between him and the Lakers. He said, whoever drafts my son, that's where I'm going. I don't care about the money. So I think he's at a place in his life where he's like, I'm going to do what makes me happy. And I'm not really worried about Rob Pelinka or anybody's management. I'm going to control my own narrative. And I think that's what we saw. And if he gets hurt in the process, I believe he believes that his legacy is cemented as the greatest. So he doesn't care. Everything at this point is just icing on the cake. So I think it makes it easier to go out and play 36 minutes, because if he doesn't win a title this year, if they don't make the playoffs, I think he wants to win, but I also don't think he really cares because he knows that team isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think it's one of those things where he has his eyes on two things. He has his eyes on his legacy now that he's getting closer to the end of his career, and I think he realizes that that was probably his last. This is probably his last chance to, that last ring that he got is more than likely going to be his last one. So I think that right now he's just thinking about his legacy and he's thinking about his numbers, and I think he wants to make sure that he finishes as he's already the all-time leading scorer in terms of regular season and playoffs. I think he wants to catch Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and then once he does that, and he's just like, yo, I have nothing else to prove, and I'm going to do this thing my way, to Ray's point. And he's been the leader of this whole player empowerment movement. So this is kind of on brand for him in terms of him deciding and choosing, deciding his own fate. He's not putting it in the hands of these franchises. He's putting he's putting the power in his hands, and he's going to decide how he ends his career. And I think it's commendable, the part that he wants to play with his son. I think that's super commendable. And who wouldn't want to, go out for their last year or whatever the case may be? What better way to go out is to play the NBA with your son, and not only your son, but your namesake. Like there's no, greater reward I could see him having besides, the NBA, the championships, than to be able to play on the same court with his son. So, I get where he's coming from. But, of course he's going to say that he's the GOAT, but,
He's not.
He's not. That's and of course he's going to, speak his narrative and create his narrative. That's kind of, on brand for LeBron. And so this is one of those things where he's trying to start shaping a narrative and trying to, put those things out there that's going to Mike's point, that he's putting these things out there to kind of start to shape his narrative and make sure that people kind of try to run with it. Because you do have some people out there, but it's not just Shannon Sharp. It's a lot of young people out there that think LeBron James is the GOAT.
Got you. So with that being said, Jay, there's been some reports that LeBron wanted the Lakers to make a move at the deadline. He was upset that they did not make the John Wall trade for Russ. And the fact that they just stood pat and then came out and said that LeBron was okay with standing pat apparently has ruffled a lot of feathers between Clutch Sports, so to speak, and LeBron's camp and the Lakers. Obviously, most of us don't think the Lakers were going really anywhere anyway, but does this added potential rift change the direction of the Lakers either this season or next season, in your opinion, Jay?
I think it has to. I mean, everybody's kind of come out and voiced their opinion. Magic's kind of voiced his opinion about the Lakers. Now you got Jenny Buss and and Pelinka and Laker ownership saying that they support the benching of Russ in the fourth quarter and things like that. And of course, people are starting to look at Braun as La GM or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of things going on that just puts a lot of toxicity in this Lakers team. So I think you almost have to move on from it. Will they? I mean, of course, that's neither here nor there. I mean, who knows? But if you look at Bronny's not coming in until LeBron turns 40. So I don't know, if the Lakers are going to. I mean, the Lakers could possibly draft a Bronny. I mean, there's no saying that they wouldn't. But yeah, I think this Lakers team is done, and I don't know if LeBron goes back to Cleveland. I mean, I don't know if Cleveland wants him back because Cleveland, quite honestly, doesn't need him back. They're playing good right now at the number 4 seed. These guys are playing lights out, and if Bron comes back, he's probably going to want to make some changes. So if Bron has to come back, he's going to delay the maturation process of Cleveland. So I don't think he goes back to Cleveland as much as he says he's not closing the door. I think Cleveland itself is closing the door.
Wouldn't that be something LeBron wants to? Because they were in the same interview, they were asking LeBron which jersey he would wear when he goes into the Hall of Fame, and He was non-committal in really any team. But that would be something for Cleveland to kind of Heisman LeBron on his trying to go out. Because I agree with you 100%. Cleveland's ascending, and I don't see how LeBron fits with that current roster, the way it's currently constructed. Garland's best with the ball in his hands, and there's 2 big guys down low, so the lane would be, in essence, kind of clogged for him. So I just don't think he fits.
Don't forget about Sexton.
Yeah, Collins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole nother piece. So I don't know necessarily what he would do in that scenario, where he would potentially go. Maybe he could look at trying to go to Phoenix and play with Chris Paul. I don't think they've ever got a chance to play together yet. But
yeah, that will finish the Banana Boat tour.
So,
but with everybody else
to do that, Phoenix has to pay a lot of people here soon. They might not be able to keep Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Ayton, Bridges, Johnson, and bring in LeBron. Granted, he said to play with Bronny, he would take the pay cut. I don't think he's taking a pay cut like that any other way. He's always said he would never do that again because of the message it sends. So this next year, I think, is going to be interesting. Jay, off the top of your head, the start of next basketball season, are all the Lakers there? Are none of the current big three of Russ, LeBron, and AD there? Or is it just, do they ship a piece or two out?
Wow. I think, you know what? And I don't think Bron's contract ends next year. I think Bron comes back so I don't think they trade Bron. I think Bron will be back next year unless he just forces his way out of there, tells him I don't want to play. I think Bron comes back.
Really quick, Anthony, I think he can leave the year after that. So that would be kind of that situation of, do you let him leave for nothing or would you trade him?
But who's really going to, at a 38 he'll be 38 when he goes into that one. Who's going to trade for an aging LeBron? I mean, aging injured LeBron. I mean, I just can't imagine anybody. I mean, what would they offer for him? Maybe at his age and his injury levels, I just don't think he commands them as much as what they're going to want.
Yeah, I could actually see them probably trying to move both of those guys because both of them will be on expiring deals. Him of LeBron and Westbrook. I'm sorry.
Oh, Westbrook.
No. Him and Westbrook, they'll be on expiring deals next year. So it's a possibility that could just
that's true.
They could totally start it. They could blow this thing up and start it all over because that would create that's what $60-something million of cap space or something like that. Potentially,
Russ makes I think
Russ is at 40 and LeBron's got to be at 30-something. So that's a significant cap room that they could create. But then the question is are you sure that you can build your team around Anthony Davis with his health challenges? So it's a lot of tough decisions that LA is going to have to make. And the other thing is that, I think what the Lakers are realizing is that as a result of having LeBron James, you're automatically in win now mode because he doesn't care about the future. He's not worried. He doesn't care about draft picks. He was subtweeting or whatever the case you want to call it. He called the Rams GM his guy because of the shirt that he wore about the draft picks. And that's what LeBron, he don't care about. He's not worried about the future. If he's going to get guys, whoever's going to come in and give him the best chance to win a chip, that's all he cares about. He don't care nothing about, your team moving forward. He's in the now and he's thinking about his career, his legacy, and, his ring count. So the Lakers are going to have to decide. They're going to have to make a decision as to how they want to move forward. Are they going to just blow it up for this chance to? And I think that's what they tried to do this year with bringing in Russ. Is they thought that they could kind of, circle the wagons and bring make one big push to try to get back, in contention. And we've seen how this turned out. So I think now they're going to see if they need to do a hard reset. And it's a possibility that they will do a hard reset because they have to make those decisions.
And, hey, can I say one thing real quick? What is amazing to me is the fact that if they blow it up, LA typically builds their teams with free agents. They don't really do too much with the draft. I think, they had Brandon Ingram, they had Julius Randle, they had, and a couple other ones. But they typically
those years they were bad.
But they typically ship them off. Yeah, they ship them off. They don't even really keep them. They typically build their team around known guys. And here's the deal: if they keep Davis but let go of Westbrook and LeBron, is Anthony Davis, given his history, going to be enough for that team to bring in free agents? Are they going to want to gravitate? Because let's be honest, even if they could build to the draft, they really don't even have the draft picks until like 2 or 3 more years down the road at number 1. So they've really kind of killed themselves on the draft front. And if they blow up the team, they got to try to attract the free agents that want to play with Anthony Davis. And can they make that happen? I mean, it's going to be difficult.
No, I agree. I think LA, the next 8 to 12 months for LA is going to be real interesting.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah,
going to
I
have some
think if they do
decisions to
that
make.
deal, they do it to make if they do the deals with those guys, I think they do it with draft picks in mind. Like the only way that you're going to be able, well, not the only way, but I think that because they've traded away so many draft picks. If they do those deals with those guys, they're going to look to get some draft picks back to try to rebuild that
Yeah,
roster.
absolutely.
But here's the thing. I think when you look at LeBron, you look at Russ, if they're on expiring deals, I would imagine LeBron definitely has a no trade. And I would also
No,
imagine
actually,
Russ,
he doesn't. I think that's what they
he
said
doesn't. Okay.
in the
Well, then
article that I was
that would
reading.
be a big difference maker. I know in the past, LeBron, they said he had looked at houses in Philadelphia at one point, which would make that team interesting if he could somehow find his way there, since they're trying to get out of the Tobias contract anyway, which is a max deal. So I think it'll be a very interesting next couple of months for LA. I think how they end this year will matter. I find it hard to believe that AD comes back. Like, for what? By the time he comes back, at best it's a playing game. He's not going to be well conditioned. And it's a lower body injury, so I don't really see the point in that, in them bringing him back for that. But speaking of potential injuries, we saw in the game over the weekend with Michigan and Wisconsin, and depending on what side you guys stand on, there was a timeout called late. Juwan Howard didn't agree with it. I don't really understand it. The game was well out of hand. Granted, he was still pressing, which I don't really understand either, but maybe it's just make the team play hard. Nonetheless, there was the two coaches came together, and I wish I had the Wisconsin coach's name.
Guard.
He made physical contact. He initiated the physical contact, and Juwan Howard took it a step further. Once they had separated, he reached over and basically slapped the other coach. And it's come out that he got a 5-game suspension, which will basically end the year for him and likely end Michigan's hopes of any kind of tournament bid. So first, what are your thoughts on Juwan Howard's actions? And two, was the 5-game suspension justified? I'll start with you, Jay.
I think it is, and I'll tell you why I think it's justified. Number one, they're in a handshake line, and I really believe the way that game ended, I think Juwan Howard even basically came out and said that he felt it was unfair to his guys the way that Wisconsin ended the game. He felt like, why are you egging this game on? You've already won it. We know you've already won it. Just let the clock run out. Let's get to the locker room, get these guys showered up, let's get out of here. You don't have to. Why are you taking a timeout for? What are you really trying to prove? Are you trying? It doesn't make. And I think that's what fueled Juwan Howard. He was already charged going into that handshake line. He gets to the handshake line. The first thing he does to the head coach, because the head coach is trying to lead him or head him off at the pass. I think he probably saw that he was emotionally charged. And Howard's already got his hand or his finger right into the face of the coach. Now let's do just a really super fast rewind to last year in the Big Ten tourney and the University of Maryland. And he got pissed off at the University of Maryland's head coach, and he bum rushes him. Luckily they got him in time. They pulled him back, but he was charging the guy. So we already know that from last year. So he already has a history of it. Then you come into this year, you already see him putting the finger into the head coach's face. So he's mostly charged. Now listen, if somebody's shaking your hand, things like that, people they may have bumped it, they may have touched him, but sometimes you got to listen. You're the head coach. You're the El Prima Don. You're the guy setting the example for your students. Why are you going to put them in harm's way and try to hit somebody? Because that's going to start a brawl. And it did start a brawl. And then what if his students would have got hurt? What if they would have got injured? Staff members from the Wisconsin team were injured and affected by it because they already said and came out and filed an issue with the NCAA that charged all this. So why are you going to put your students in a predicament that they don't need to be involved in? You put yourself in a predicament you don't belong in. You have a history of it. At what point do you say, you know what, I need to be held accountable for this? I don't know.
Kenny, what you got?
Yeah, I think that it's a few things, and there's a few things to unpack here with the situation. I kind of want to just go through it a little bit, and then just think of from a coach's perspective. So when you look at the video of it, you can see that Juwan Howard was he was going in a straight line. He was not. He shook his hand and he wasn't even. He said what he wanted to say and he kept on moving, like he had no intentions of saying anything else to this guy other than "I'll remember that." But then Coach Guard took it upon himself to grab the guy by the arm and like try to explain. And like, come on, like in that situation, there's no explanation that you're going to tell me at that particular point in time that's going to justify that action. Like that's one of those things where after the fact, once we get, after the, get back in the locker room after the press conference or whatever the case may be, then we talk about it then. But then at that particular point, competitive juices are flowing, guys are still keyed up and emotional. So he knew that wasn't the particular, he should have, I should say he knew. He should have known that at that particular time, it wasn't the time in which to confront him about that situation. And then another thing is you don't grab no grown man by his arm and like grab and hold the guy like, hey, yo, come talk to me like right now. Like you're already starting a situation by doing that. Like you do that to kids. You grab kids by the arm to get their attention when you want to make sure that they hear what you have to say. But you don't do that to a grown man. So that was another thing. Then the other part was that he wasn't even talking to the assistant coach. He was talking to Greg Gard. And then the assistant coach injected himself into the situation. And I don't know what he said, but clearly he said something that set Juwan off. And that's why he got mushed in the face. So, but having said all of that, Juwan Howard is totally in the wrong. There's no, to Jay's point, like you have to be the bigger person in that situation and you have to show your team how to be composed. And so I think that's one of those things. This is going to be a learning situation for Juwan Howard. And my last statement is that this isn't. We got to be careful in terms of saying of categorizing guys a certain way, because Juwan Howard has been one of the most. His reputation as a person and as a man is nothing but first class. He's been nothing but first class throughout between his college career, between his pro career. And his resume in terms of how people speak of him very highly, and just knowing and having had a chance to interact with him on a few occasions because, my uncle played for the Wizards, so they were teammates for a few years. And every time I saw the guy, he was just nothing but class. He always made sure that he came and spoke to the family. He was always a classy guy. So I don't think that this is necessarily an indication of who he is as a person. So we got to be, careful about that. But having said that, I think that his statement, and I read his statement, him apologizing, he understands now that I don't think that we'll ever see this ever happen again from him, because that will be the true test of who he is as a person, is that he learns from this situation and it doesn't happen again. But there was some triggering that was done on both sides. So I think that this was something on both sides, that there was issues or responsibility or blame needs to be shared. But the ultimate blame goes to Juwan Howard. He has to be better.
No, I completely agree with really both of you. I agree that it wasn't just some angry black man that just slapped somebody for no reason, but you can't do that. And it led to players throwing real punches. And the other part to me is, and this is just kind of I'm not really from the hood, but just a street tactic of, you went in somebody else's neighborhood and started a fight. Like, we saw what happened in Detroit. Like, it could have been really bad had fans or other people got involved, because you were grossly outnumbered. And in the world we live in today, you cannot put those kids in that position. It's one thing to say, as a parent, I think a lot of parents will say, if you get me, you get me, but leave my kids out of it. And so I think in this situation, he put himself above the kids. Like, you can get back on the bus, or you can go back in the locker room and tell them, hey man, this is something that should motivate y'all. Remember this feeling. Remember what they did to y'all. We might see them again in the Big Ten tournament. This could have been a rallying cry. That was not the time or place to respond that way, even if he touched him. Like, I'm not going to go overly into the dichotomy of the race aspect of this, but you cannot do that. And to your point, Jay, he has had the dust up before where it didn't get to this point, but I've seen, I guess, this on 2 occasions. And to your point, Kenny, I didn't see any of this in Juwan Howard, especially the last couple of years in the league. He hung out on the bench. He did his thing, collected his check, was a leader. And I was really surprised and really disappointed that it got to this point. I understand the emotion. I understand what it's like to be embarrassed. By all accounts, they've underperformed this year. I think they came back this year, and although they lost a lot of talent, I don't think anybody expected them to be this bad. So I think there's been a lot building. And so I understand how it got here, but I also understand you cannot let it go there. So I thought the 5 games was fine. I thought firing him, which a lot of people wanted, was excessive, considering plenty of the things we've seen. I think this will send a clear message, but I think the public response was more than any fine we're going to do. I think this is one of those moments where he has to look himself in the face and say, I can't do that. Like, I'm a leader of men, and just be better for it. So I think he will be. I believe this is something that can unite the team. I don't think that by the time he gets back, they'll be able to make the tournament, but I hope this will make them better going into next year. But it was definitely something to see, but glad no one got hurt out of that. And speaking of potential hand injuries, we did get news, which I thought was weird, that he played in the game. Chris Paul is out, I think, 6 to 8 weeks with a broken thumb. And again, he played in the All-Star game, which if I'm what is his name? Monty. He
just wanted to get the assist record.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But he came in and he shot the ball. He didn't even pass it. When he finally did get the ball, he shot a left-handed layup and it didn't go in. But I just thought, whew, you are playing with fire, because there was one point, I think there was a rebound, and I don't want to risk that. But he is out 6 to 8 weeks. So what do we think happens to Phoenix in that time frame? That's basically the rest of the year. They're currently the 1 seed. They've, to me, been heads above the best team in basketball. So what do you guys think happens to the Suns going forward? I'll start with you, Jay.
Yeah, losing Paul, I mean, that's like the leader, the professor of your team, but the team, it depends on how the team reacts to the loss. I mean, the team has enough talent that they should be able to hold on to, first or, maybe best, second, or I think, they wouldn't slip down any further than 3, I don't think. I think they have enough talent to stay within the top 3. But, you're going to get Paul back. If anything, you get Paul on the shelf for 6 to 8 weeks, while his finger heals. You go, look, that finger going to heal. And then the rest of your body is going to heal. Or it's going to at least be very well rested going into the playoffs. So probably this could be a blessing in disguise, because given with Paul's age, now you're going to let him rest up, let that finger get straight, and then you're going to have a very well-rested Chris Paul, energized Chris Paul, ready to get back on the court, Chris Paul, coming back to this team, and that could be very dangerous and very explosive. So I think it looks like, oh my God, they lost Chris Paul for 6 to 8 weeks, but maybe this could be a blessing in disguise for Phoenix. Depending on how you look at it.
And just kind of, Jay, to your point, they are still 6.5 games above the 2 seed.
Yeah,
they're 8 games above Memphis, who's the 3 seed. They are 9-1 in their last 10, so they've shown they are really good. I think the other piece to this is when you have that MVP discussion, I think this is Devin Booker is your turn. We've seen what Ja has done and how he's elevated Memphis. Even though they were good when he was out, he makes them go. And as other teams start to get healthier, I think Devin Booker is going to have an opportunity to establish himself as a superstar. So I'm very curious to see how his role changes, how he leads this team, whether they go on a slide or if they can maintain, whether it be treading water or even, maintain the pace that they were doing. So I definitely think that'll be interesting. Kenny, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is an opportunity for Devin Booker to really establish himself even more as a leader. Because Chris Paul is a dominant voice. He has that personality as a dominant leader. Um, so I think that it's an opportunity for him as well. They do the young guy campaign who stepped up when he got hurt last year during the playoffs and had some good moments. So I think he'll be able to kind of to cause them to tread water, for lack of a better term. And I think Devin Booker is going to have to be more of a playmaker as well. So this is going to add more to Devin Booker's plate. And to your point, Ray, I think this makes him even more this adds more to his resume in terms of his superstar status. If he's able to continue to score as well as make plays for his teammates and get those guys open shots. So I think this is an opportunity for him to really, cement his status as the alpha male for this team. And also the other point that Jay made is that as long as they tread water, I think as long as they're able to be 500 because of that lead that they have, if they could just play 500 ball, they should be able to not slip too far, like Jay said, to maybe 2 or 3 at the worst. So I think, and another great point that you made, Jay, is that his age that's a definite blessing in disguise, because we know that Chris Paul has had issues with injuries, and the fact that he got hopefully got this injury now and kind of got it out of the way, and this leads to him being super healthy and super rested and strengthened going into the playoffs. So I think that this is it could be a blessing in disguise, to Jay's point.
No, I definitely agree with that. I would say the other piece too, and I kind of forgot about it. DeAndre Ayton's in the contract year. Like they didn't give him that extension.
Yeah.
So I think this is as big of an opportunity for him to say, I am that max guy. Because they offered him, I think it was like 4 years, $80 million. And he was like, nah, I want to be a max guy. So JaVale McGee's played really well.
Yeah.
If you want that money, you better go get it in this time frame. So I think it'll be really interesting to see kind of, how they navigate it, what DeAndre Ayton becomes, if he can take that next step to become a dominant force and not just the third wheel on a championship team. But I think that it'll be really interesting to see there. So the last piece we do have for the NBA is Goran Dragic. And for me, a surprise move, which I guess the rich get richer, they just keep piling up, is choosing to go to the Brooklyn Nets. For you guys, is that big deal, no deal? Does that put them over the top? What does that do for them in the East? And Kenny, I'll start with you.
I wouldn't say it's a big deal. I think it's a piece that can help them because, you have another guy that can on the floor that can make plays, especially those games when Kyrie, those home games when Kyrie can't play. You got an extra guy and another ball handler out there on the floor that can make plays. I think that helps. And also a veteran that's been through it. So I think it's a bit of an upgrade because Patty Mills is more of a spot-up shooter than he is a playmaker. So you put him on the floor as well as Seth Curry, who's also more of a spot-up shooter than he is a playmaker. So I think that helps them in terms of having another ball handler and another playmaker on the team. But I don't know how much he really has left in the tank. I think that's the biggest question. So I think it's a piece that'll help them. But I'm not sure how much of an impact he's going to be able to have in these last few weeks.
Okay. Jay, what you think?
Yeah, I think with Goran Dragic, he gives you another, like to Kenny's point, another shooter. But I think he also gives you he's going to come off the bench, so I would imagine he would come off the bench and take over for Ben Simmons. Is Ben Simmons on the point? Are they running him with the point right now? With him?
Well,
I'm
assuming that he.
I know Kyrie Irving kind of takes it.
He's not going to play shooting guard. I can probably bet that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it definitely wouldn't be a shooting guard, right? That's right. But I think he's going to come off this. He can come off the bench for sure and give you that added shooting touch. I mean, he combine him with Seth Curry in the backcourt, man. That could be really good in terms of shooting. So. And if you get a healthy Durant, I mean, they might be able to put something together.
Okay. No, I think Depth is always important, especially in the playoffs. You never know when somebody could go down. I think that'll be the key for Chris Paul, though. I agree with you guys saying he'll get the rest, but a lot of times when you come back from being off, and he should be able to stay in shape because he has an upper body injury, but basketball conditioning is not the same, or practice isn't the same as game time playoff conditioning. And so I think that could always be an issue if you come back and then you pull something in the lower body just because you haven't been playing at that level. So health is important. Brooklyn did get deeper. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And Dragic, he's proven he can play well, especially as a leader and as a scorer and facilitator in the playoffs. But I have a multifaceted question. I'm curious you guys' take here. So by all measures, the NBA and the NFL are both about 70+% black as far as their players. I think we can all agree that roughly around those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we saw the Super Bowl halftime be so lauded because it was black, which was against the norm, not common. It was such a celebration of hip hop. Whereas we watched the NBA this weekend and it was all hip hop. Not even the biggest mainstream artists were all represented, from Steph and his wife playing a game with 2 Chainz to DJ Khaled performing with Gunna and Lil Baby and Ludacris, and Mary J. Blige made an appearance as well. So my question for you guys is, given that the makeup of the players is very similar, why do you guys think the cultures are so far different when it comes to hip hop, where it's almost like hip hop's just being established in the NFL? Granted, we've seen the 49ers come out with the boombox, but from a production standpoint, the NFL has not really embraced hip hop in the way on any kind of level that the NFL has, but the makeup of the players is similar. I'm just curious you guys' thoughts on why that dichotomy exists. And I'll start with you, Jay.
I think it's like everything else. Look, they've had Michael Jackson, they've had Prince, they've had other black artists. Hip hop is really starting to catch on. I think even the last few years, or even the last 10 years, it's starting to really come about. So the fact that the NFL is doing that, and they said, okay, look, we're going to do a whole hip hop show, and we're going to, look at it like this. Everything has to start from something. It has to start someplace. And I get it. It did go for a good long period of time, but you know what? I'm looking at it where it is now and where we can go in the future. And I think that's what you have to concentrate is where can we go in the future? And I think hip hop is a great. I love hip hop. Dre, love it. I was there with NWA, and I went and watched the movie. It was freaking phenomenal. 50 Cent got all of his music. Eminem, Snoop. I definitely got a lot of Snoop stuff. I've had Snoop since he first came into it with Gin and Juice and everything else. So I love all these artists. Mary J. Blige, I got it. The Rain, I got it. So I think that everybody else is starting to get it too. It may have taken a little while longer to get hip hop into the game, but they're there, they're here, and I think it's where we go from here is what matters. And I agree. It is a large African American population in the sports, and it is sad that it's taking us this long to get hip hop involved in it, but it's here, and I don't think it's going to leave, which is good.
Kenny, what do you think?
Yeah, I think with the NFL, I don't think that it's a coincidence that this all happened once Jay-Z became a part of the I guess the curating of the NFL halftime. So I think that's a big reason as to why we've seen more of it, and then also I think it's an embrace of the culture and embrace of this social media generation that we're in. And I think they realize that the NFL is starting to realize that in order to get the bang that you really want for your buck, like you're going to have to cater to the millennials. Because I think, a few years back, before, they kind of were out of the loop and they were kind of like, almost, stuck in it. Because I remember a couple of years back, they had the Who, I think it was one year for the halftime show. So I think it was one of those things where they didn't have people that had the pulse of of society as a part of the decision-making process. And I think now that they now that they have, the Jay-Z's of the world as a part of their process, they're getting more of an understanding as to what drives the culture. And I think that's really the biggest thing. Like you said, the NBA, they've always been, I guess, thought forward, I guess is the term is, that they've always kind of watched the trends. They've always catered to in terms of opening up internationally. They've always kind of been ahead of the curve. That's the term I'm looking for. They've always been ahead of the curve in terms of their thinking and their mindset. Even when it comes to from international players and all the way down. So I think it's just one of those things where the NFL is just they're finally catching up, and the NBA has always been tapped into the culture.
Cool. No, I definitely think that matters, and we'd be foolish not to believe that Jay-Z didn't play a role. I will be curious to see going forward if that continues or if they kind of go back to business as usual. I don't know, Taylor Swift or Miley Cyrus, or I don't know, someone like that. But it is something that I think speaks to maybe a change, and so another change that was surprising to me. I've been on a couple different platforms saying I thought Brian Flores' career was over, that this lawsuit was going to be the end of him, and Pittsburgh said not so fast. And so he has been hired in Pittsburgh. And so I'll start with you, Kenny. Kind of, what are your thoughts on that? Is it a token hire? Do you think he generally believes in him? Is he just standing by him? Just kind of, what are your overall thoughts on that hiring?
No, I think he's standing by him, and salute to Mike Tomlin for doing that. He gave him he added on top of the linebacker coach as the senior defensive assistant. So I think he made a concerted effort to make sure that this was not just a token hire, but that he gave him, some, I guess, for lack of a better term, some clout, or with his job title. He made sure he added something to it to put some respect on his name. You know what I mean? And so, and the other thing is that this is something that has been going on the other side for years, where we've had guys doing favors for guys, or I'm hiring my guys on my staff. Even the Dallas Cowboys, a couple years ago when with McCarthy, bringing in, and I can't even think of his name. It was so bad, Mike something. But anyway, guys bringing in their guys. That's been going on for years in the NFL, and so I'm glad to see on the other side where Mike Tomlin, he did his man a solid. And also another thing that can't be lost is the fact that the Rooney Rule was established by was named in honor of the former Pittsburgh Steelers owner. So the fact that they were the team that threw him a lifeline, I just think that was even all the more appropriate. And I'm just glad that he's gotten another opportunity to still be a coach in the NFL. Would I have loved to see him be a head coach again? Yes. Would I have loved to see him be a assistant head coach or a defensive coordinator somewhere? Yes, I would love that as well. But I just think it's appropriate that of the teams that gave him another chance, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Jay?
Yeah, first off, I think the coordinator you were thinking of, Kenny, was Mike Nolan.
Nolan, thank you.
Yeah, that was a McCarthy holdover.
Yes.
I really wasn't a Mike Nolan fan. I like Derek.
Yeah, they were terrible.
we go forever about the Cowboys, but that's a wormhole for another day. In terms of, for me, it's bittersweet. It's sweet in the fact that it's good to see that Brian Flores is back in coaching. He's coaching. He's doing, and it's great that Mike Tomlin recognized. Hey, look, Brian Flores is a genius. If they're not gonna, I'm gonna bring him in. He's gonna be my coordinator. We're gonna go to the top. I get it. So it's good to see him back in the coaching world. But for me, it's bitter in the fact that he shouldn't be a damn coordinator. I'm sorry, he shouldn't be. He's too good for that. He's transcended the level of a coordinator. I mean, there's a lot of damn white coaches out there, if I'm being honest, that he's better than, quite honestly, way better than. And the fact that he doesn't have I'm just going to throw it out there, Hackett. Let's just go with Denver. I mean, let's look at Hackett. You going to tell me that Hackett's better than Brian Flores? Really? Because I'm pretty sure that's not the football I'm not watching. I'm just saying. I mean, look. I mean, I got a head coach that's got a great resume. No, that's not even a good word. That's not a good adjective. He's got a phenomenal resume. And then I got a coordinator that has a decent resume. Not bad, not great, but it's decent, whatever. But he's a lateral freaking move from Fangio. Matter of fact, he's less than a half move because Fangio got him a Super Bowl. Hackett hasn't done shit yet. Pardon my French. So you're going to tell me that this half-nit is better than Brian freaking Flores? And you saw what he did in Miami? Are you kidding me? I'm just saying. It's bitter. It's sweet that he's coaching, but to me, it's I'm just upset that he's better than what they've given him. He's a damn head coach, and the fact that he's going back to a coordinator is bitter for me. It's like, it just doesn't taste good.
Yeah. I think it's twofold. Kenny, to your point, I think we've seen this happen in the NFL for the longest time. The Belichick, Shanahan coaching tree is everywhere. Like, that's majority of the NFL, it seems like, with Parcells and everybody else that's come out of that group of people. But I also think, to your point, Jay, he was a really good head coach. So if I can get a really good head coach to coach the linebackers on my defense, that's an upgrade by every stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
So if I'm in that, AFC North, Cincy, you better go get an offensive line because TJ Watt already was on a tear before, and now you got Brian Flores in there to come and advise on the defensive side of the ball. So Baker, get your feet together because you might be running like Lamar, all of them. Like, that division is going to be ridiculous next year as they continue to upgrade. And so, in the mind of upgrading, what Pittsburgh is missing is a starting quarterback. And so, does this decision to bring in Brian Flores, do you guys think that opens the door to make a move for someone like Deshaun Watson? Jay, I'll start with you.
Man, you know what? For Pittsburgh's sake, they better try to make a move for Deshaun Watson. Because if you believe in Mason Rudolph, I don't care who they brought in they think they can develop him. Because they brought in two coaches. They said that they're developing Mason Rudolph. Listen, hell no. Mason Rudolph is not the answer for you. And neither is Haskins. So if you're smart, you'll listen to Brian Flores and you'll go out and you'll get a guy like Deshaun Watson. You'll tag team him up in this football lineup, and you'll have a great defensive coordinator, a great offensive coordinator. You got a great quarterback and a great defense. I mean, that's all you need. You got a great running back. You got all the pieces for a championship team, but you better go get freaking Deshaun Watson. Look, it's only civil lawsuits. He'll get that crap settled. It's not like it's criminal. So let's just go get him and let's call it a day.
Kenny? Yeah, I totally agree. If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm doing that because Jay already touched on it. That you got all of the pieces in place. You got a running back, you got a big time wide receiver, you got a couple, you got pieces, and so that quarterback is the only thing that you're missing. You need that guy to pull a trigger, and nobody believes in Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins. So you want to replace a former face of the franchise with another in that franchise, and unless you're doing a Russell Wilson, unless you're doing out of the other options, Jimmy Garoppolo, Deshaun Watson is clearly the best option out of those three. So I think that's the direction that you would go if you're Pittsburgh to make sure that you have that offense and you got that guy, the signal caller, that's going to lead your team to be a contender. Because we got to also think about this too, is that, these are, I know if I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm pushing for that because I know this could be my, the back end in terms of my career, in terms of being in Pittsburgh, because he's already been there 15 years. So, this could be the guy that I could ride off into the sunset with and get another Super Bowl title on my way out the door. So I think if I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm really pushing for that. And again, he's the best option of the guys that are available.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a huge upgrade, and it's a quarterback of the future. Russell Wilson is kind of middle of the road.
Exactly. He's getting up there. He's in his mid 33 or 34 or something like that. So he's
an older quarterback because of the running and the hits he's taken. Right. I don't think Kirk Cousins is necessarily a long-term answer. No. Sean Watson, I think, is still 26, I believe.
26 or 27, I think.
You could have him for the next 10 years in that environment, which prolongs Mike Tomlin's career, although I don't think he's in jeopardy, never having a losing season. But I just think it makes too much sense. And Pittsburgh's not a huge media capital. It's not like him going to New York or LA or Dallas or something like that. He could kind of just hang out. The city's not a really thriving per se, not like that, but it's not a city of lights. It's not that kind of city.
Exactly.
It's a blue-collar,
a lot of off-field distractions.
Right. So I think that could also be a good fit to kind of fade the black, so to speak, but also produce at a high level. I think the team is there. You guys mentioned the wide receiver and running back. They got a pretty nice tight end as well.
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely.
I think it's Hiremuth or whatever. So I think it's a great situation for him. I think it makes too much sense. I don't know what you have to give up to get him. You might could sign and trade Juju or something like that because I think they're trying to get out off of him and maybe someone else, maybe some draft picks. But I think you make that decision yesterday if you have the opportunity to do so.
Well, there'll be draft picks, Ray. I promise you. There's going to be some draft picks involved for Deshaun.
Yeah. And he's 26, going on 27.
They're going to get him in the prime years. He's worth it.
And for that matter, he had a year off. So
exactly.
That's one.
He's coming back well rested.
You're going to get a guy for the next 8 or 9 years.
Oh, easily. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, fellas, that is our show. I definitely appreciate you guys jumping on. It's going to be a rough week. It's already been a little tough with no NBA, no NFL, no MLB. It is. I mean, I like hockey, but I don't like it like I like everything else. So Thursday, come on Thursday. Let's get these games going.
Yeah, well, NBA will be back Thursday, so at least we'll have some games to watch.
So yeah, excited for that. Hopefully everybody rests up. The players use your security. Watch who you're with. Like, just have a good time. But
get an Uber.
Get an Uber. All of that.
Car service. Man.
Did you imagine if you're the Uber guy thinking of an athlete? I'd be like, no. Can you sign this for me real quick?
Sign it. Don't fight anybody. Don't snatch anything from someone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's a ton of distractions in Cleveland, so I imagine most of them have left Cleveland.
Oh, wherever you went, first thing smoking.
Wherever you went, just chill out, come back. Let's finish the year. It's been a great year. But fellas, appreciate y'all, and we will see you on Thursday. Y'all all have a great evening, and thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good night.
Whole sports, all plays. Whole sports, all plays. Whole sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days.